What does mind control actually look like practically, and how did that affect you?
Great question. For me, indoctrination, I can boil it down to one word, and that's fear. If I would come to a conclusion, which I was afraid to think outside the box, I was afraid to think critically. Thinking critically really is you're given a bunch of data, whether it's opinions or facts, or you're given data and you formulate your own thought process through this data. And you're going to hold true to that, right? That's where every day our brains are processing information and we make decisions based on that information that we have. In high control religion, mind control is based on fear. There's always a consequence of something, right? So if I were to Google Jehovah's Witnesses, even in my generation, I'm 42, my generation is just on the cusp of before technology. So I'm hopeful for the younger generation, but we weren't allowed to Google Jehovah's Witnesses. You're programmed to think before you even do it. Indoctrination looks like, if I do this, there's a consequence. That's not the everyday consequences. If I don't put my seatbelt on, there's a chance I can get hurt in an auto accident. Yes, there are consequences every day that don't involve mind control. But for high control religion, in my experience, it's not listening to my inner voice where the inner critic is louder. It's not listening to my intuition about a person or a situation or circumstance. It's, I have to be here. It's obligation. It's the fog, right? Fear, obligation, and guilt. And that's what indoctrination looked like. It's the emotional control. It's based on the bite model. And I don't know if I'm sure you're familiar, your audience is familiar with the bite model, but if they
Yeah,
aren't,
but say it again. We've talked about it before, but it's worth saying again. Yeah.
Stephen Hassan is a cult expert and he's a PhD and he wrote an amazing book that talks about mind control and religions. And it's the bite model is behavior, information, thought, and emotion control. And once it's defined and once you read about it, this can also apply to relationships. This can apply just in everyday situations. So behavior, right? We were dressing a certain way and talking a certain way and using the same language. In Jehovah's Witnesses, they called it the pure language. It was this universal language. No, it's loaded language. That's what it is. They create wonderful words and just completely redefine them. For example, Jehovah's Witnesses call it the truth, which means there's only one truth. Anything else is false. That's indoctrination. Words that they use indoctrinate us and control our minds as well. It's a very broad topic, hard to condense, but that was my experience in a nutshell.
Wow. Wow. That's helpful to know. And can you say the FOG acronym again and go through that real quickly? Because that would help.
Is fear, obligation, and guilt. And that is very much linked and tied to narcissistic abuse. Narcissistic abuse is also a byproduct. Being a survivor is also a byproduct of high control religion.